everyone. Welcome back to Wildcat Chats. I am Natalie Noury, and today I have a bit of a rescue story to tell you all. So 3 nights ago, Wednesday, June 10th, 3 out-of-state hikers decided that they wanted to ascend Mount Jackson in the Crawford Notch. This is a 4,052-foot mountain located in the Presidential Range. Well, at 7:20 that night, these 3 hikers experienced severe dehydration, injuries, exhaustion, and they could not continue on. So they had to call 911 for a search and rescue team to come out and get them down. But one of our own, an upcoming sophomore Nordic skier, Schuyler Michalak, was out on the trail with her brother and sister and came across these 3 hikers, and they helped each other get down to safety. So today we are joined by our hometown hero. So Schuyler, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So we're going to start kind of from the beginning. So as a hiker myself, I would say it's kind of abnormal to still be on the Presidential Range in the evening hours, 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. So you must have had an adventure planned that day. What brought you out on the trail and what were you hoping to accomplish?
Yeah, so it was my birthday, and my only wish was for my brother and sister to join me and do the entire Presidential Range. So from Madison to Jackson. It's around 23 miles and like 9,000 feet in elevation gain over the total range. And we started around 9 a.m. because we both had like 2.5-hour drives. My sister was coming from Vermont, and we went out and we were hiking for the entire day. And our plan was to finish around like 7 o'clock-ish, but in the end, we obviously had a longer adventure.
Yes, you did. So I'm sure the 3 of you at the beginning of the day, I'm sure you were not expecting the end of your day would end in a rescue mission. So
Correct.
on Mount Jackson, you came across 3 hikers who seemed like they needed help. What did you observe when you came to them? What did you see, and how did you know that they needed help?
Yeah, so we were about a 1/4 mile off the top of Mount Jackson, and we walked around a corner, and my sister was first, and I kind of just saw like 3 hikers on the side, but she's like, "Oh my gosh, are you guys okay?" And when I saw what was happening, one of the girls was like having a seizure. Basically, her eyes were rolled back in the back of her head, and like her eyes were glassed over, and like she obviously was not okay. One of the guys was on the phone with 911, and then the other one, when we started asking questions, couldn't really form sentences because he was extremely dehydrated. They hadn't had food since like 9 a.m. And so immediately when we saw like these 2 like kind of were one like girl who just completely wasn't responding, and the one who was very confused, we definitely knew something was wrong.
Right. So I'm sure there was a lot going through your mind. Did you know immediately we need to help these people, or did you and your siblings think, okay, let's think for a second, this could potentially put us in a situation? How did you respond to this?
Yeah, I think we definitely, because of COVID, we all like kept our distance a little bit, and we were kind of assessing the situation. We were looking at like what kind of gear they had, and they were all in jeans, cotton shirts, and they didn't have any water, any food, anything. The temperature was dropping because it was like the sun was starting to go down. It was these pretty nasty clouds had just rolled in. So pretty quickly we're like, okay, we need to help these people get off the mountain, because like, especially since this girl is completely not responding, like we can't like go off the mountain in good conscience without like getting these people off.
Right. I think you made the right decision, obviously. So can you talk about what the descent was like with these 3? How did you help them out? How did you decide to start helping?
Yeah, so we had immediately, my sister actually was like, okay, we need to first put on all our layers, and so we don't get cold. So we put like jackets and pants and like hats and gloves on, and then we gave them all our extra layers. So we had a bivy sack, and we had a puffy coat, we had an extra headband, buffs, and gloves. And so we gave them all of that, and we got around the girl who was having some kind of seizure. We got a puffy coat to try to warm her up because she looked like very cold. And the very severely dehydrated guy, we gave him our extra water, we gave them our extra food, and we're trying to get them to the point where they could hike down. And after around like an hour and a half, 2 hours spending that time up there on the trail with them, we eventually started like slowly working our way down.
Right. So how high up actually did you find these hikers? Was it like in the alpine zone around the summit, or were you in the tree line at this point?
It was kind of in like between, like as the trees, like as the tree line started to like come back, but like we weren't completely covered at that point.
Okay, so you had quite the way to go on the way down.
We had like over 2 miles to go.
Now that is that is a long descent with some injured and exhausted people. But my understanding is you actually intercepted fish and game. What was that? What was that like to be able to see them, and what was the conversation like?
Yeah, so they had been on the phone with 911, or one of the guys, for almost the entire time that we were with them and like warming them up. And they did not send out a full search party because we told them that we could try to start hiking down. But they sent out two conservation officers who met us like 15 minutes from the trailhead because they were hiking up towards us. And when we saw them, we all stopped and they asked, they were like, do you guys need any layers? Do you need any food, any water? We have extra lights. And luckily, my sister, my brother, and I all had headlights because within a couple minutes of us starting to hike down, it got pretty dark pretty quickly. And so once we made sure everyone was okay and we didn't need an ambulance or anything at the bottom, we all just kept hiking down. And when we got to the bottom, there was a base manager there who took our information, and they had a lot of conversations with the 3 hikers who were needed the help. But after that, we actually had to get home because we still had like a 2.5-hour drive, and it was like 11:30 at night. So
Yeah, so a very long day.
yeah.
An adventurous birthday for you.
Yes.
But it's the story of being at the right place in the right time, and I believe that that's a coincidence that was meant to happen that day.
Yeah.
When you descended, did you know, are these people okay? Was the girl okay at this point?
Yeah, so she started to come back around eventually, and it was definitely a slow descent because they were very wobbly on their feet. And at one point, she actually fell and hit her hip, and there was a little bit where we were like, oh gosh, we're gonna actually need a rescue at this point. But it was slow going, but we got down and they did it all themselves. So
Right. And it's such a good thing that you 3 were prepared. If you were to talk to someone who has never hiked the Whites before, and you were to advise them what they should have in their packs when they're hiking, what would you recommend?
definitely the look at the 10 essential hiking list. Um, I've always been told by my mom, she's part of New England Canine Search and Rescue, to always have extra clothes, extra water, all these things in your pack, even if you're just going for a short day hike, like a compass, a topo map. And I always rolled my eyes, but I took it all. And after this experience, I definitely say make sure you have all the extra layers, the extra food, the extra water, the topo map, the compass, everything, to be able to spend the night out there if you need it.
Right. And I'm sure you were grateful for your mother's advice and for doing it that day, especially.
Yes, definitely.
And if people were out there and encountered a situation like this again, how would you advise that they handle a situation like this on their own?
Um, I'd say definitely keep a level head. Um, Make sure if you have like the gear, keep everybody warm, try to get people hydrated, and um, if somebody's like actually injured, try to keep them off the ground so that, because once we got this girl off the ground, she started becoming more conscious and being able to like sit up a little bit. And so definitely like um, just take it one step at a time, and get your coordinates, make sure somebody knows where you are and what's happening and everything. So
Right. And do you feel the phone call to the conservation officers, do you feel like that would be something that people should do if they're in a situation as well?
yes, I would definitely say that. And we were lucky. So my mom, because my mom's with New England Canine Search and Rescue, we actually were able to call her while they were on the phone with 911 and the EMS team. And we were able to give her our exact coordinates from our topo map, and she was able to call the fish and game warden to make sure that they knew exactly where we were, because um, the other guy did not have a map to tell them our coordinates. So
Wow. Well, if I'm ever going hiking, I'm going to call you and your siblings to assist me. I guess one final question for you. You know, you had such an adventure this day, but it's only June. You still have July and a little bit of August left of summer. What more adventures do you have planned for this summer?
I'm definitely gonna do a lot of adventures on roller skis. I have some very fun routes planned around my house, but definitely going to keep hiking, especially at Monadnock. There's some fun adventures, like trails that you can do that are pretty long, and probably a couple more trips up to the Whites. I'm thinking about doing the Franconia Ridge Loop, which is not as long as the Presidential, but still just as fun. So
Well, it sounds awesome, and I hope you enjoy what's left of your summer, and I hope you don't have too many more rescue missions ahead of you. But thank you so much again. You have quite an amazing story. I'm so excited to share it with everyone, and I look forward to seeing you back on campus in the fall.
thank you.
Stay safe out there.
Thank you, you too.